Om Prapannaparijātāya Totravetraikapānaye Jnānamudraya Krishnāya Gītāmritaduhe Namaha. Pranams everyone. We are in chapter 6, Sloka number 3. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ārurukṣuḥ Karma Karana Muchyate Yogārūḍhasya tasyaiva Shamah Karana Muchyate. So we were saying Bhagavan is basically talking about two states of a sadhaka. One is Ārurukṣuḥ, another one is Yogārūḍhaḥ. Ārurukṣuḥ is a person who wants to get Dhyana. So for an Ārurukṣuḥ, he has to get into Dhyana, so he will have to do Karma Yoga. And for a Yogārūḍhaḥ, because he has come to the stage of being able to perform Dhyana, he will have to let go of Karma Yoga. This is what we saw until last class. So Ārurukṣuḥ is a person who has not conquered the mind and the senses yet. He is not able to be in control of his mind. And he does not have the strength to conquer them also. So for him, Karma Yoga is essential. He must practice Karma Yoga. Through Karma Yoga, the mind gets the strength. And even through Karma Yoga, it is not fully possible to control the mind. But the mind is reasonably under control. Now, at this stage, this person, once he is able to master the mind to some extent and the sense organs, he must enter Dhyana Yoga, and for that he must renounce Karma Yoga. For a spiritual seeker who has reached at a certain level where the mind is able to focus on things that you want the mind to focus on, you are able to get the mind to obey the commands of the intellect, and the intellect itself to obey the commands of Shastras. At that stage, Karma Yoga must be given up, must be renounced. So next the question comes is, where are we? Where am I as a sadhaka? Am I an Ārurukṣuḥ or am I a Yogārūḍhaḥ? And how do we find out if we actually sit for Dhyana, and if the mind keeps running everywhere, or if the mind is constantly disturbed by raga, dvesha, expectations, worries, anxiety and all those things, which means the mind cannot remain steady even for a few minutes, then it means I am still an Ārurukṣuḥ. And if I am an Ārurukṣuḥ, Bhagavan is very clear. One cannot, one must not, one should not run away from karma. Whatever duties are prescribed must be done until the time the mind is free from raga, dvesha, jealousy, expectations, anxiety, worries, all those things. As we do Karma Yoga, we will have more and more control of our mind. So that is for us to understand whether we are an Ārurukṣuḥ or a Yogārūḍhaḥ. And how do I identify whether I am a Yogārūḍhaḥ? When I sit for Dhyana, Dhyana comes naturally to us when the mind does not run outward. When the world does not constantly pull my mind. when I am able to have this Vairāgya. Vairāgya is basically what? Udāsīna bhava, where anything that is there or not there does not disturb me. When Vairāgya becomes natural, when I sit for Dhyana, I am able to concentrate my mind on the object of concentration. Then I can consider myself to be a Yogārūḍhaḥ, and at that stage I am free. I must renounce Karma Yoga and focus on Jnana Yoga. And therefore, renunciation of Karma Yoga itself becomes a sadhana for such a seeker. Now, we say when you are an Ārurukṣuḥ, when you do not have a control over your mind and senses, one must perform Karma Yoga, so that one becomes an Ārurukṣuḥ, Yogārūḍhaḥ, from an Ārurukṣuḥ. Now the question then comes is, what qualification, how does Karma Yoga produce? What sort of qualification does Karma Yoga produce for me to consider giving up Karma Yoga and becoming a Yogārūḍhaḥ? As we do Karma Yoga, there are two things that become stronger. One is Mumukṣutvam, a deep desire for liberation. This samsara, this world is always going to be mixed with sorrow. And the only way for me to escape this is not by changing the location, not by changing my environment, not by deciding whom I should live with or not live with, or by taking up sannyasa or running away from karma or going to an ashram. Nothing is going to solve that. The only way that I can come out of this samsara is through moksha. And for moksha, I need to get a desire for moksha. And that desire must not be a weak desire. It should not be one of those desires which is in the long list of things that I must have. It must be a deep desire. It must be my topmost desire. So as I do Karma Yoga, my desire for moksha becomes stronger. Second thing that that Karma Yoga does is that it will make my Vairāgya more intense. We do have Vairāgya in certain things. Some people may have Vairāgya on food, some people may have Vairāgya on gossip, some people may have Vairāgya on clothes, some people may have Vairāgya on jewelry, so on and so forth. We do have Vairāgya, each one of us we do have Vairāgya, but not in all spheres of life. But having this Vairāgya on almost all spheres of life, especially those on which we are very attached to, that is the second benefit that comes out of Karma Yoga. So, deep desire for moksha and intense Vairāgya. These are the benefits these are the qualifications that Karma Yoga will give us. And now the question is, desire and interest. One may have a desire for something, but having interest is different. And the question is, actually speaking, when can I perform an action properly? Not if I have desire in it, only if I have an interest in it. For example, some people they enjoy solving sudokus or solving some puzzles. Some people like doing mathematical problems, solving mathematical problems. Some people have this intense interest for playing chess. these are things that are not a common interest for everyone, because for many people solving puzzles is a taxing on the brain. Solving mathematics may not be their cup of tea. Chess is too much of a burden for them to be able to think, because their interest is different, their interests are different. So having a desire is one thing, but cultivating interest is another. Similarly, if I say I have a deep desire for Dhyana, but we are not even able to sit for a few minutes and we walk out, it means our desire itself is weak. But once we get some interest, we build on the desire, and through that desire we again build on the interest, and then we again through that interest we build the desire. This way, if we are able to do it again and again, what will happen? We will look for opportunities to meditate. Dhyana, we will be looking. Some people have this, if they are too much into game of chess, they would look for opportunities to play chess with everyone and anyone. In the same way, if we are able to cultivate this habit of sitting for meditation, as we actually do this again and again, over a period of time, we will actually look for opportunities to meditate, because meditation will calm the mind. It will definitely give you mental satisfaction and happiness and peace of mind, at least for the time that we are in that state of meditation. Same thing is with Vairāgya. Because we have little Vairāgya and we attempt Dhyana, but what happens? We attempt Dhyana with little Vairāgya. When we sit for Dhyana, our thoughts go haywire. Many thoughts arise. Remember, this is the guideline. I mean, any thought that comes to our mind is about an object of our attachment or aversion or hatred. It is only those two. Mostly it is a case of attachment. But there can be instances of objects of hatred or aversion also coming in our thoughts. But generally speaking, whenever we are sitting idle and some thought comes up, it's basically if you want to find out what are your objects of attachment, you can, if you are aware of your thoughts, you will be able to recognize them. So when do we have true Vairāgya then? When that, we can say, when we have Vairāgya towards that particular object, if the object no longer occupies our mind, the thought itself does not arise. As I said, it's both for attachment, it is true for dvesha also. Even hatred keeps something alive in our mind. And either case, whether you get attached or you have an aversion or hatred, both of them do not help us. Neither materially nor spiritually. It is said in Mahabharata that Shakuni actually remembered Bhagavan more than any of his devotees. That is because of his intense hatred for Bhagavan, Krishna. That Shakuni remembered Bhagavan more than any of his devotees. So what we have to do, how do I know whether I got Vairāgya? When there is intense Vairāgya, there is Udāsīna bhava. What is Udāsīna bhava? And the object is present or absent, it does not disturb my mind. If I am actually talked to, not talked to, if I am being praised or ignored, or even if I am actually criticized, it doesn't impact the mind. So, Karma Yoga is essential to build these two things. One, the desire for moksha. The second one is Vairāgya. So for a Karma Yogi, generally we can accept Mumukṣutvam is weak, Vairāgya is weak. And through Karma Yoga, both Mumukṣutvam and Vairāgya become strong. So if that is the case, then Ārurukṣuḥ and Yogārūḍhaḥ, if we have to distinguish them, then we can say an Ārurukṣuḥ is one who has got manda Mumukṣutvam and manda Vairāgya. And a Yogārūḍhaḥ is one who has got tīvra Mumukṣutvam and tīvra Vairāgya. So basically, Karma Yoga converts this manda to tīvra. Is there something called manda Vairāgya? Yeah, manda Vairāgya is something called as temporary Vairāgya. Temporary Vairāgya, like somebody has got liking for samosas or vada. After 3 or 4 samosas, the person can say, "Nah, I don't want to see food again." That is called as temporary Vairāgya. We also say as Smashana Vairāgya. When there is a death in close quarters, people discuss as to how life is so fleeting, and that the priority should be different, and that the person has not actually taken with him or her anything with them. Those things are all, those are the things that are actually typically discussed by a person who has Vairāgya. But then what happens is, this discussion is only until we come out of that house or until for a few hours. Then when somebody asks for, "Do you want coffee or tea?" we say, no, I want only coffee, I want strong, I want this much sugar. We have all kinds of attachment towards how the coffee should be. So these are temporary Vairāgya. Then there are also some people who do not have even manda Vairāgya. They are people who would want to live life as what it comes. They wouldn't want to focus on Vairāgya at all. They don't, unless you have Vairāgya as a goal, people will not attempt Vairāgya. Vairāgya does not happen on its own. It's very difficult. It might happen if you get an overdose of things over a period of years or janmas. But it doesn't happen on its own unless we put an effort towards it. So there are some people who do not have Vairāgya at all, manda Vairāgya, or even these people are not called karma yogis, they are called karmis. So this we have to understand, that I have to work towards Vairāgya. I have to work towards Mumukṣutvam. It does not happen on its own. And what is the easiest and the best way to do that is through Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga? Doing my duties. Doing my duties with the attitude of Ishvararpana. I am doing it for the sake of Ishvara, not for anybody else. And I do not expect anything in return, or whatever I get in return, even if I have an expectation, whatever I get or not get, I take them as Ishvara Prasada. This is Karma Yoga. So doing my duties. So how long, until when do these duties continue? Until our Mumukṣutvam and Vairāgya become intense. And what happens when it become intense? These duties naturally will fall away. In fact, as we mature spiritually, we do not need to drop duties. The duties will leave us. They leave us. Some attachments we will have to. It's the same thing with attachments also. Some attachments can be removed by force. But if there is deep down attachment on certain things in life, they must fall away on their own. And for them to fall away on their own, the best way is through Karma Yoga. And it can happen only through Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga becomes very important. So finally, what does Bhagavan say? Bhagavan says, when the seeker is Ārurukṣuḥ, Karma Yoga is the sadhana. When he becomes Yogārūḍhaḥ, renunciation of Karma Yoga becomes the sadhana. So once he becomes Yogārūḍhaḥ, he should not say, I want to continue doing social service. I want to serve the society, because that is Karma Yoga. Now at that point of time, the person must focus on inner progress. And that is not selfishness. Saying, I don't want to do service to the society, I want to focus on my inner well-being, as in knowledge, gain knowledge. Why is it not selfishness? Because by attaining this knowledge, one jnani is actually benefiting the whole world. A jnani, in the midst of a jnani, others around the person also benefit. So a jnani is able to bring in more benefit than a person who is doing service to the society, because they have much more influence, positive influence on people around them. So, and Yogārūḍhaḥ, he has got only one duty, and that is to get Dhyana and become established in it. This is what the Sloka says. Now we'll go into the Sloka. Ārurukṣor munoer yogam karma karanam uchyate. Karma karanam uchyate. Ārurukṣuḥ muner yogam. Yogam karma karanam uchyate. Here yogam Ārurukṣuḥ munehe. So Ārurukṣuḥ is one who wants to reach. Munehe means for the seeker. So Bhagavan praises him as a Muni. Mune, he says seeker. That seeker, Bhagavan calls him as Muni. Remember in the previous Sloka, Bhagavan called him as Sannyasi. Karma Yogi as a Sannyasi. Now he is calling him as a Muni. So Bhagavan is praising Karma Yogi. He is actually praising Karma Yoga and as well as Karma Yogi. But he is not a Muni yet. He is only a Karma Yogi. But why does Bhagavan praise him? One Sampradaya Guru says, because he is going to be a Muni. He is going to be, by following Karma Yoga, by performing Karma Yoga, he will get into a stage where he will become contemplative. A contemplative sage. And therefore Bhagavan already calls him as a Muni, although he is yet to become one. Ārurukṣuḥ muner yogam. Yoga means Dhyana yoga. Karma karanam uchyate. Karma here means Karma Yoga. Uchyate. Uchyate means is said to be. Karanam. Karanam means the means or sadhanam. So if we actually expand this first sentence, for a seeker, for a Muni, for a seeker, Ārurukṣuḥ, for a seeker, Muner Yogam, who wants to reach Dhyana Yoga, Karma Yoga is said to be the means. So for Ārurukṣuḥ, if he wants to become a Dhyana Yogi, then Karma Yoga is the means to get to that stage. Now if you go to the second line, Yogārūḍhasya tasyaiva shamah karanam uchyate. Yogārūḍhasya, for one who has reached Dhyana Yoga, Yogārūḍhasya tasya, for him, for a person who has reached Dhyana Yoga, And remember, Yogārūḍhasya and Ārurukṣuḥ, it cannot be separated. Only a person who is Ārurukṣuḥ once can become a Yogārūḍhaḥ. A Yogārūḍhaḥ cannot be someone suddenly becoming a Yogārūḍhaḥ without going through the Ārurukṣuḥ route. He has to come through the Ārurukṣuḥ route only. So Shankara Bhagavad he says, one who has Ārurukṣuḥ earlier, he is the one who has become Yogārūḍhaḥ now. Tasya, for that person, Shamaha Karanam Uchyate. Shamaha means here renunciation. Nivritti marga. What is to be renounced? Karma Yoga must be renounced. Karma Yoga must be renounced. Renunciation is said to be the means. So for those who have reached Dhyana Yoga, renunciation is said to be the means. Tasya yeva, he says, Bhagavan says. Tasya yeva. That yeva must be applied in two places. Tasya yeva. For him only. For Yogārūḍhaḥ only, nivritti will work. Nivritti will not, the shamaha, this renunciation is not meant for others. It is only for Yogārūḍhaḥ. Tasya yeva. So for a karmi or for a Ārurukṣuḥ, which is basically a karmi or a karma yogi, they cannot renounce karma yoga. If they renounce karma yoga, they become mithyāchārah, hypocrite. They will have issues. To renounce something when we have desires in our mind will create problems. But at the same time, we will have to work towards Vairāgya. It needs a lot of mental strength, it needs mental maturity to be able to renounce something completely and decisively. If we have been attached or in the habit of something for long periods of time, for us to be able to give it up both completely as well as decisively, it requires a lot of mental strength, a lot of mental maturity. But it can be done. So, if we do have these desires, then karma yoga renunciation should not be done, must not be done. So tasya eva. For him only shamaha is the means. Then this eva can be also put after shamaha. Shamaha eva. As in, for a Yogārūḍhaḥ, Yogārūḍhasya, shamaha eva karanam uchyate. For him, renunciation only is the means, which means he must renounce. There is no other option for him. He cannot be, if you are a Yogārūḍhaḥ, if you have come to the stage of Yogārūḍhaḥ, you cannot be in the midst of action for any reason whatsoever. So that eva can be also applied there. So for only those who have reached Dhyana Yoga, so if we put the only eva in both places, for only those who have reached Dhyana Yoga, renunciation only is said to be the means. That is how we need to understand. So just to summarize this sloka, Karma Yoga, it prepares the seeker for Dhyana. Dhyana Yoga prepares the seeker for knowledge. So first the mind must become pure through Karma Yoga. Then the mind must become steady through Dhyana Yoga. Then with this pure and steady mind is then qualified to receive the knowledge through Jnana Yoga. This is the progression that Bhagavan is teaching here. So Bhagavan says, Ārurukṣuḥ. For Ārurukṣuḥ, Karma Yoga is the means. For Yogārūḍhaḥ, renunciation becomes the means. So this sloka gives the role of Karma Yoga, but it also gives the limit of Karma Yoga. There are certain things that Karma Yoga cannot do. After a stage, it becomes redundant. We have to understand that. So Karma Yoga must transition, one must transition from Karma Yoga to Dhyana Yoga. Now, in the next sloka, Bhagavan is going to clearly explain who exactly is a Yogārūḍhaḥ. Now we will go into the next sloka. Sloka number 4. Yada hinendriyarteshu na karma svanusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi Yogārūḍhaḥ. Yada hinendriyarteshu na karma svanusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi Yogārūḍhaḥ. Here in this sloka, 4th sloka, Bhagavan is doing something very important. Until now, what did he say? He said, for one, until one becomes Yogārūḍhaḥ, one must be in the midst of duties. Karma Yoga is the sadhana. For a Yogārūḍhaḥ, renunciation, shamaha, nivritti, that is the sadhana. Now, naturally speaking, we should get a doubt. What is a doubt? Unless I know who exactly is a Yogārūḍhaḥ, how will I know what stage am I in? Whether I should continue Karma Yoga or whether I am ready for nivritti. We did discuss this slightly in the last class. Bhagavan did not say. We discussed that when you are going to sit for Dhyana, whether the mind is actually, you are able to focus, you are able to concentrate, then you know you are not a Yogārūḍhaḥ. But here Bhagavan gives the indication. When can one call oneself as Yogārūḍhaḥ? Who exactly is a Yogārūḍhaḥ? So here Bhagavan gives the lakshana of Yogārūḍhaḥ. So when a person gets the mental state as mentioned in this sloka, then at that time that person can renounce Karma Yoga or must renounce Karma Yoga. We have already discussed. You remember in the last sloka we discussed when we call us Yogārūḍhaḥ, we said when Mumukṣutvam becomes intense, Vairāgyam becomes intense, then that person becomes a Yogārūḍhaḥ, we said. And this is because Shruti, Veda Pramana is there. It says Yada Hareva Virajet Tada Hareva Pravarajet. The moment Vairāgya comes, one can walk away. If the Vairāgya becomes intense, one can walk away from normal life. One can become a sannyasi. One can give up all the duties. But be careful, a small clarification is required. When Vairāgya becomes intense, Yada Hareva Virajet, that when it becomes intense means it is not that Vairāgya that comes out of emotional frustrations, or there could be some temporary detachments. There is a fight at home that will also give us Vairāgya at times. An argument at home and or with the boss or somebody, we can get Vairāgya, but that is temporary Vairāgya. It's not intense Vairāgya. It cannot last long. Tīvra Vairāgya is born out of clarity. What clarity? That everything around me cannot give me complete, proper happiness which is not mixed with sorrow. And it is all, if you can remember the dab, dukkha mishratatvam, atriptikaratvam, bandha kartritvam. It is always mixed with sorrow. I can never be totally contented with whatever I get, and it always makes me attached. So what is Vairāgya here? Vairāgya does not, another thing, Vairāgya does not mean hatred. Vairāgya does not mean hatred for the world. It does not mean running away from people or objects. These people will be there, these things will be there. I am in the midst of those things, but I will not get attached, I will not get aversion. No raga, no dvesha. Udāsīna bhava. Neutral relationship with everything. That is maturity. So when moksha becomes a deep desire and Vairāgya becomes intense, we saw, then one becomes Yogārūḍhaḥ. Now here, that is what we discussed in the last sloka. Here Bhagavan gives a different lakshana. He says, this is one lakshana, not that whatever we discussed is wrong, but another way to look at it is, Bhagavan gives here in this sloka is, when a person loses sankalpa towards objects, he is Yogārūḍhaḥ. Now we must understand this. What is sankalpa? Sankalpa is Vishaye Priti Buddhihi Sankalpa. Vishaye Priti Buddhi means the state of mind, or in my mind I believe that this object will give me happiness. That conclusion in the mind is called sankalpa. Vishaye Priti Buddhi Sankalpa. For example, we go to a market or to a shop, we see various objects. When we go to the supermarket or a shop or in a bazaar or somewhere. But if you realize, our focus will be only on certain objects. We do not get attracted to all. There are only certain objects we get attracted to. The eyes zoom in on that. Then what happens? Slowly the mind says, the object is good to have. That's nice. It's good to have. So what happens? A small priti bhava, a liking takes over. I like that object. So first thing is, that is nice. Second thing is, I like it. Third thing is, slowly, it without even we realizing it will happen. The third thing that will say is, a sukha buddhi comes up, saying, that will be good for me. So slowly, it is nice, I like it, that will be good for me. Slowly, some transition has happened. Then what happens is, the thoughts keep coming, keep running in our mind. This is true with objects, with relations, with people, with situations, and so on. Those running thoughts are called as sankalpa. And what happens? The sankalpa itself, it turns into a strong desire. What is a strong desire? So slowly what happens from I like it, or it is nice, I like it, it would be good for me, to a strong desire saying, I am not complete without it. I want that object for myself. When that thought comes, it is called as kamaha, desire. Desire itself does not happen just like that immediately. It requires that sankalpa to have that desire. But we don't even realize those modifications in our mind. So, summarize, we see an object, the mind develops priti bhava, then comes sukha buddhi, then repeated thinking, then becomes sankalpa, sankalpa becomes kama, desire. There is a sloka in Mahabharata which says, Kama janami te moolam sankalpat tvam hi jayase. Kama janami te moolam sankalpat tvam hi jayase. The essence of that line is basically the desire is born out of sankalpa. Kama, I know where your root is sankalpa. So Bhagavan is brilliant here. Bhagavan does not attack desire. he does not talk about desire at all here. He talks about the root of desire. He talks about sankalpa. And he says, who is a Yogārūḍhaḥ? A Yogārūḍhaḥ is one who has dropped not the desire, he has dropped the sankalpa itself. So that is how Bhagavan explains or gives the lakshana of Yogārūḍhaḥ. So when we go to a place, we bring along, when we go for a holiday or for a tourist place, we bring a lot of things with us, either in our hands or in our bags or in our mind. A Yogārūḍhaḥ is one who comes back alone, not in his mind, maybe in his bag, but definitely not in his mind. So this is the first point that Bhagavan gives on Yogārūḍhaḥ. The second lakshana that Bhagavan gives here is, see our sense organs, they place themselves on various objects. Like eyes place them on various objects. Ears try to place itself on various sounds. And the sense organs, when they place on these objects, they do that with the thought process that these objects will give me some value. Sense organs attach themselves with certain objects, thinking it will give me benefit. That is why, this is there in our mind. That's why we collect even unwanted things. If we look, many of the homes, there will be so many bags, so many cables, so many ropes, tags. We don't want to let go. We think that it might come of use to someday. Whether it will come to use or not, we will want to collect it because it is our nature. We think that the sense organs decide, and the mind also decides along with it to say, oh, I look at it, this might be of value to me, of some object, future use. And we get attached, we hoard it, we accumulate it, because we think this will help me someday. What we are failing to recognize is we are actually putting our dependence on it. There is a subtle dependence now, and therefore we are not willing to let go of it also. Even after 6 months we have not used it, we would still retain it. Even after 6 years we may not have used it, we will still retain it. So earlier the object was sukha hetu. Sukha hetu meaning it's giving me some happiness. For a Yogārūḍhaḥ, for him he does not see them as sukha hetu or something that can be of use at a later date. Either it will give me happiness or being useful. He sees object as mithya. Mithya means for him there is no dependence. Not that they are not useful, not that he will throw away things. He will not get addicted, attached to it at all. He will not think that it will be must have object. So Bhagavan says, when the sense organs, so Bhagavan is giving a linga, a indication for us to know whether we are a Yogārūḍhaḥ. He says, when the sense objects no longer cling themselves to the objects. Then we are Yogārūḍhaḥ. And what is it? When we get the knowledge that no object in this world, including our own body, is of any value to us, then he is Yogārūḍhaḥ. It has got some benefit, it has been given, I will take care of it. It's not that I need to hold on to it. I cannot let go of it. That is why some people have this fear of death, because they don't want to let go of this body. The Atma doesn't want to let go of this body. But for a Yogārūḍhaḥ, he understands even this body is temporarily given. It does not belong to me. If this Atma has to take another body, it has to leave the body, it will do so happily. So this is the second point on that Bhagavan gives on Yogārūḍhaḥ. The third Lakshana that Bhagavan says here is that we have an attachment on actions also. Our mind keeps motivating us to do certain actions, some action or other. There are certain things that we would do that. I mean, not that whether it gives us a benefit or not, it's a different question. But we love doing those actions and therefore we do those actions. And that's because of the Rajoguna on the mind. The Rajoguna on the mind will force us to do certain actions. Some people having this OCD is a perfect case. It may not have any value by actually washing your hands regularly every few minutes, but they do it. It's not giving any benefit, but you are addicted to it. Or some people have this surfing the television or putting the television on throughout the day. They want, not that it is going to give any benefit, they are not listening to it, but then still they do want to have this in the background. Or do some actions just for time pass because of Rajoguna. And some people they get attached to karma, some of the actions. They cannot be sitting quietly also. Sitting quiet becomes a weakness, sort of weakness for them. They cannot. It is difficult for some people to be in solitude without doing any action. Many people have this problem. In fact, it is difficult to be alone and do nothing for 15 minutes than actually working hard for 10 hours. If you give a choice, people may be willing to work hard for 10 hours, doesn't matter, I am willing to work, but don't ask me to be alone and do nothing for 15 minutes. Because people are addicted to action. Solitude is a punishment for a person with Rajoguna. It is a sadhana for a Sattvaguna person. So if we are unable to sit quietly, then Bhagavan says we are not yet Yogārūḍhaḥ. If we are comfortable in solitude, then we are approaching Yogārūḍhaḥ. For Yogārūḍhaḥ, solitude is a sadhana, and for a person who is not Yogārūḍhaḥ, solitude becomes punishment. So Bhagavan says the Lakshana of Yogārūḍhaḥ is that you must be able to be alone in a room. In that case, if you are able to do that, you are free to renounce your duties. That Bhagavan is giving here. A person who has been able to get over attachment or get over the attachment on actions. Another way to describe is when the mind is capable of thinking on subtle matters, sukshma matters. When we are able to think on subtle matters, when we are able to dissect things, or when we are able to see certain things that others generally are not able to see, then we are Yogārūḍhaḥ. See, not doing action, where I mentioned about not doing action, one can claim to be a Yogārūḍhaḥ. We have to understand this clearly. Not doing action because of laziness, because of tamoguna, is not considered as Yogārūḍhaḥ. Laziness, if somebody does out of laziness, then it cannot be called as renunciation. Having that inertia of not doing anything is not maturity. From tamoguna, one cannot go to sattvaguna directly. One can go only via rajoguna. So Bhagavan is talking about rajoguna transcending into sattva. So 3 lakshanas Bhagavan gives. just to summarize, 3 lakshanas. One is, first one what we saw, sankalpa tyagaha. Sankalpa tyagaha is the first lakshana. The second one is having no prayojana buddhi on vishayas, having no attachment on indriya vishayas. That is the second indication. Third indication is having no attachment on actions or karma. Basically, he should have crossed over Rajoguna. When all these 3 are in a person, then he is a Yogārūḍhaḥ. Now if you come to the sloka, yada hinendriyarteshu na karma svanusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi Yogārūḍhaḥ taduchyate. Yada means when these 3 things happen, then one becomes a Yogārūḍhaḥ. That's the essence of this sloka. What are those 3 things? Indriyarteshu. Artham here means objects. Indriyarteshu means in-sense objects. In-sense objects. Na karma svanusajjate. Na anusajjate. This na anusajjate we should bring in everywhere. Together. Na anusajjate. And we should say na anusajjate means when one is not attached, when one is not interested. Na anusajjate. So yada na anusajjate indriyarteshu, when one is not attached in sense objects. Shankara Bhagavad he says prayojana abhava buddhya. It means that the knowledge that these sense objects are not useful, not beneficial to me. So I have a clear conviction that none of the worldly objects are useful or valuable to me to hold on to it. So indriyarteshu na anusajjate. Na anusajjate indriyarteshu. That is the first lakshana. Next one, na anusajjate, we will have to use again. Na anusajjate karmasu. Na anusajjate, not attached in activities. When your mind is not thinking of doing this and doing that. When the mind is not attached in activities, when one is freed from the influence of Rajoguna. Here Bhagavan, see, actions can come out of both Rajo as well as Sattva-guna. Here Bhagavan is talking about Rajoguna, activities that have come out of Rajoguna. The feeling of I am bored is actually good. One should actually experience boredom. It's very important for us to become a sattvic person. If someone says I am bored, bored meaning, when can I say bored? Not, some people, even while they are gaming or surfing, they say where they are bored. That is not what I am talking about. When I say bored, I have nothing to do, I am sitting idle, I am closing my eyes, or I am actually opening my eyes and actually looking through nothing, doing nothing. I am bored. That is good thing. It means they are able to remain quiet and do nothing. And I am saying, if they don't say I am bored, then it's good. If they say they are bored and therefore they are looking for something to do, then it means they have not been able to come out of the Rajoguna. Now second line, Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi, renounced Sankalpa. Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi. How much Sankalpam? Sarva Sankalpa. All Sankalpas. So one who is does not see any object with Priti Bhava. That person is also, that is also another Hetu. That is also another Lingam. More on this Lingam and the further Slokas we will discuss in the next class. Any questions or comments?
Guruji, I have posted a question on the chat. Not a question per se, but just my opinion.
What is the nature of sankalpas in a karma yogi's mind? Contemplation or orienting my thoughts is what I do in meditation. I am hoping that this kind of contemplation or reorientation would help me in attenuating our sankalpas. What is your take on living by chance, or they say providence? There are quite a few questions I believe here. Maybe is it possible for you to put it on the chat and then we will take it up in the next class?
Yeah. Sure. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
So, I mean, thoughts without Priti Bhava, what category do they fall?
Is it because, what sort of thoughts are they? I mean, without Priti Bhava, but is it on sense objects? Is it on your duties?
Duties.
Duties is sattva. These are sattva gunas, or it is about some sadhanas, it could be sattva guna.
So those kind of are they still called sankalpas? Or
No.
Okay. Only when desire is involved, your self is involved, then it becomes sankalpa.
Yeah.
Okay.
We will discuss more on this in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.